What's up, North County? I'm your host, Randy Doty, and today we have in the studio, we have Roger Sharp with Big Bad Bubba's. Welcome.
How you doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
How you been?
Great.
Yeah?
Busy. Yep.
Awesome.
Busy. Always doing something.
I bet. You're always on the road or opening a restaurant or cooking behind.
We're causing problems or
Causing
making
problems.
money, losing money.
Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit about yourself. So tell me where Roger Sharp started.
Well, I grew up in Paso Robles, and started out when I was about 16. I started selling churros out at Avila Beach. And from there, I just kept, going from churros to pretzels to lemonade to cinnamon rolls to hamburgers to cotton candy to anything. And then I eventually worked into the brick and mortar deal. My first restaurant was at Good Old Burgers down on 24th Street. Used to be, you remember that?
Heck yeah.
You remember do you remember T&D hot dogs?
I don't remember that.
Really? That was before me.
Really?
Right. So, and they did everything with electrical. When I came in there, I needed gas. So there was no gas. And I was all of about 23. I had no idea how to even go about getting gas. So we put in propane.
No kidding.
Yeah, we put a propane tank in the back. And I can't even remember how we dealt with the city on that or whatever. But, we just ended up that. So everything was done on propane in that place.
I think everybody in the North County remembers Good Old Burgers.
Yeah, what do you remember?
The onion rings.
The onion rings?
The onion rings.
Most people say the treehouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, the onion rings were just. And I remember the burgers were like this big.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even eat it.
Yeah,
I mean, you had to
crazy.
like nibble at it to get to the meat.
Yeah, the interesting part is I've opened up many, many restaurants since then, but it's all still the same story, right? The story is I really don't know what I'm doing, right? In other words, I'm not a trained chef or anything like that. So, but you get an idea about the food, right? So you say, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I think this is what the people would like, right? And then, so you create a menu, and then one thing that I have is I know what good food tastes like, right? So I say, well, I know what a good burger tastes like. So I remember back in the Good Old Burgers days when I was doing this, I didn't even know how to cost anything out. I knew nothing, right? I just wanted to sell hamburgers, shakes, onion rings, fries, and I think that was it. That's all we sold. And so, about a week before we open, we start, buying all the food and whatever, and this, burger tastes good, and we're going to get it from the, and, at that point, money's not even factored in, right? So we just got to nail the food. We just got to go, well, we want it to be great, right? So we want that burger to be great. So this is the bun, this is the lettuce, this is the meat. And then we kind of work it in backwards. Like, okay, well, now I do. But at that time, I didn't even know how to cost anything out. I didn't know what cost of goods was.
Wow.
Where was I going to learn? This was prior to the internet, right? I mean.
So you just jumped right in then.
Yeah, I kind of do that with everything.
Well, I mean, sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah.
And so Good Old Burgers, and then you're still on the road doing the concessions.
We still do, so the churro cart ended up to be, a whole lifelong deal of what we call food concessions and major events across the country. And so I've done a whole bunch of pretty much all the largest events in the United States, and we even went up into Canada and did the Calgary Stampede.
Oh, wow.
And a couple other things. That was a challenge. But yeah, we've been from coast to coast all over the place, anywhere from, major concert events, NASCAR races, state fairs, you name it. So that's what the churro cart transformed into. And then along the way, I sprinkled in the restaurants and, but even today, I'm still doing events. I do 5 major events right now. I do the Denver National Rodeo in Denver, which is in January. Now we're getting ready right now to go to the LA County Fair. From LA, we go to Orange County in California. And from Orange County and Paso Robles overlap. So we do those two at the same time. and then we finish up with Fresno. Those are the 5 events that I'm stuck to.
Wow.
That is after COVID. So at one time,
crazy.
at one time I was doing 100 events a year with 3 teams of people, and
Holy moly.
it was.
And how many trailers are you pulling? Just one, or is this?
Oh no, now I have 5 concessions, right? Anywhere from, we have Big Bubba's Bad Barbecue, we have one called Garlickies, we have one called Pismo's, we have one called Poppy's Puffy Tacos. So they're all individual. And then, so those are the trailers, but then we have all the support stuff, which it takes usually 3 trailers per unit. And then,
Wow.
and then we have, you think about it, you go to these events, we show up and basically there's nothing there. So, we got to house people. We have what we call bunk houses. These are 40-foot long trailers that, the people, they're like little apartments. And so we got to bring all that. We got to bring the refrigeration. All of that stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we're starting from zero.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, and then the food suppliers and all that. So that's what we did prior to actually I've had restaurants the whole time, right? Since Good Old Burgers back in the churro cart days. So it was churro carts and a couple smaller little trailers, and then it went to Good Old Burgers. So we've always had restaurants and concessions. And the reason I did that back in the day was because, a couple things. One is I found it very difficult to find managers to be mobile. So I thought, it'd be easier to find somebody that, is living somewhere and have a house and, to get management and get a team in a restaurant. Well, that always hasn't been the case in hindsight. But, so we've always had restaurants and concessions going at the same time, even today.
Wow.
Yeah, so now I'm more focused on the restaurants right now, and I'm more focused on San Luis Obispo County. That's the only place I have restaurants. I've had them, farther out, which I had a little hard time managing. And
well, let's talk about that. So in San Luis Obispo County, obviously, we'll go back to the ones that you have in the North County, but what are some of the other ones that you now have?
So right now we have, I'll start down south. So in Oceano, right there at Pier Avenue, we took over the little candy shop that's been there probably 50 years. You know what I'm talking about? They sold taffy and all that. Right, Pier Avenue goes right onto the water. It's right on the sand. Anyways, so that's called Slappy's Chowder House, and that's more of like a, walk-up beach. You can get soft serve ice cream and hamburgers.
Oh, just down from the Elks Lodge?
Yes.
Okay.
But right on the...
Okay, yep.
Right at the end.
Okay.
Right where you enter. So that's Slappy's Chowder House, and then we have... one that isn't open right now, should hopefully open by next month, Tito's Red Tacos, which is in Pismo Beach, right at the corner, caddy corner across from the bowling alley.
Okay.
Right on that corner.
Uh-huh.
So those are the 2 down there. Then we have, in San Luis, we have a Tortilla Town down at where the main theater is downtown.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And now in Morro Bay, I've been spending a lot of time in Morro Bay. We have Big Rock Sweet Shop, we have Blue Sky Bistro, and we just opened 6 weeks ago one called Kickers, which is a seafood, little higher end kind of situation.
Wow.
Oyster bar, right on the water.
So that one's a little bit more like a higher end, would you call it?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay.
For me, right?
Right.
Like,
not just barbecue and
no.
sloppies.
It's this one is, full service oyster bar. We have 23 beers on tap. It's right on the water. The view's amazing.
Oh,
and,
wow.
The menu's quite substantial. Mostly, I'd say 80% seafood based. And the building came out amazing, right? So,
wow.
So we had the bones of the place, and then we just kind of themed it up and made it cozier, and we play reggae music, and it's a little
beachy.
And it's got a little bit heavier of a vibe, let's say, for the other things in Morro Bay, right? Not saying they don't have their place, they all do.
Right.
But just a little more energy, right? The music's a little louder, the music's
So you have the
different.
music there playing at nighttime or live music?
No live music, but
Okay.
just what we're bringing.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's got this whole feel, a lot of natural colors. I brought in a lot of woods and we got a redwood bar and just things like that. It had carpet in there. We took the carpet out, stained the floor. It's brown. We have LED lights on the side of the wall.
So are you the mastermind for all the build outs, or do you have a project an envisionist?
No, it's just me.
It's just
I'm only
you.
one guy.
So you're everything.
I'm everything.
You're the constructor. You're the executioner. Everything in between.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I do have some guys that work with me, but actually they're not even the construction trade. So just like we look at it like an event, right? So as I told you, we show up with these events. We have to build stuff. We have to hook up the power. We got to hook up the water. We got to install the sinks. I mean, we're setting up basically a village, right? Every month, and so we've gotten really good at, how do we theme this? How do we make it look? So, and so I do the same thing with the restaurants, right? So, and another thing is cost. Cost is a big deal. And that's kind of why I started the TikTok thing, was because cost is something that is interesting. Well, it's interesting to me and interesting to everybody. So I wanted to show people the real side of putting all this together, right? Because it's very costly, and you got to really manage it. Honestly, if I went out and got contractors this and engineers this and all this, and design people, I mean, the cost would be so far out of whack. I don't even know how I could make any money, to be honest with you.
Wow.
And so, so it's me, I'm the guy with the vision, I guess is what you call it. And then I just work with basically anybody, I'll get the tools, we'll do whatever.
Well, you've always been that, let's just get her done kind of guy.
Yeah, it's more like artwork that I've come to realize over the last 5 or 6 years that, really, we're putting businesses together, but it's really artwork. In Pismo Beach, Tito's Red Tacos is a perfect example of that. The reason that's not open is because I'm now going through the city for some permits, right? Well, it's done. The whole thing is done. And we ran into an issue because I hired a guy out of the valley, a graffiti artist. And so he came over and we talked about it and we brainstormed like artwork, right? Like, okay, we have this canvas. What are we going to do with it? Well, so we did it. And then that didn't go over real well with the city, right? So I struggle with it. Well, how could I have done that any different, And the time that it would have taken me to sit down, draw all this stuff up, and really, he's asking me, what do you want? I have no idea. Right? I want what feels good. And there's so many times this happens. It happens with our menus. It happens with our design. It happens through the whole process, right? Plating. What plate are we going to use? I don't know. Let's put it on this plate. Does it look good? Does it feel good? Nah, we don't like that one. It's that way with everything, right? In my world.
Sure.
I don't know how everybody else does it. But so anyway, we painted the logo. Let's see, I have it here, but it doesn't have it. Has a skull in it, a sugar skull. You know what that is? So it's the Day of the Dead theme and all this. And so we made it kind of look like that. Well, we put this big skull on the building and everybody's like, oh my God, you put a big skull on the building. And I'm like, and I even told the city officials, I'm like, look, even if you wanted me to draw this up, I don't even think I could have drawn it up because we changed it every single day. Yeah. Every day. I said, put a little bit of this here and put a little bit of that there. And, I don't like that black wall. Let's put some stripes on it. And that's just the way it comes out. So when you're trying to be creative, it's sometimes really difficult to fit into the box of, let's say, what
gives you,
other people are expecting, right? They want to see, what is this thing going to look like? I have no idea.
It's just that's the gift of the artist,
right?
Is the vision and it could change on
like that.
on that.
I tell everybody, it's like, that wall could be white today and tomorrow we could change it pink. You know, I mean, when you're doing artwork, there's just no boundaries, right? You know?
So
it's very
Roger,
interesting.
Tell me about the Millionaire restaurant. So you have a TikTok, and that's what it's all about. Is you're basically just talking and explaining how these restaurants are opening. Right?
Yeah.
And you're doing that on every build out, or I mean, obviously, once we get Tito's open, you'll have your 5 restaurants.
Right.
And then what will come about from that, social posts?
Well, you've known me for a while, right?
Yep.
So, I never stop.
Sure.
Which is always interesting. So, it's called the Restaurant Millionaire. It's on, mostly it's on TikTok, but we're on Instagram. And are we on Facebook?
Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah, Facebook, YouTube. Okay, so the way it all started was I have a lot of people ask me all these questions, right? You know, and sometimes I consult people and, how to, do whatever, whether it's, costing their menu out. Back in the day when I started, I think I told you, there's no, where am I going to go find this information, right? It's very difficult. Even with the information well, first of all, there's a heck of a lot more information out there today than there was, 30 years ago. But still, there's challenges, right? And so people talk to me all about this. And so I said, with all social media, I said, well, maybe I could help them, right? It's interesting to me. And so I think it'll be interesting to them how this works, right? From the time you get the keys and, like I said, the financial side of it's very fascinating to me because, a lot of people lose a lot of money, right?
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly. And so there's ways to go about it and be creative and make things happen without, breaking the bank. And so that was kind of my goal, right? It's like, let's chart this thing out. And we never even got to the charting of the money out of it because it required a different set of skills. But so like say on TikTok, we're talking about, could be culture, but really it's about how I think, how the process happens. I'm very real and I like to be super honest with myself and with the staff. And, so how does all that come about? Whether, we find an employee stealing from us and, the conversation, and it's all short form, right? So I find it fascinating how people comment on the videos, but they don't know the 30 minutes, right? They only know the 15 seconds, so it's interesting. But, the goal is for, this is, if you ask me, I'd say this has gotten very easy for me, right? This whole, how do you take something, put it together very quickly, right? And in reality, turn a profit, right? Because that's really what it's all about. And that's kind of my tone. It's like, it doesn't really matter. I don't care if I'm selling hamburgers or cotton candy or seafood or it doesn't really matter. None of it matters. What does matter is that we're profitable, right? That we're creating a value in what we're offering, whatever that might be, right? And so, I used to say, well, and the event business was huge in that development, right? So, you drop me off and this has happened. I've done this, right? Many, many times. Drop me off in any city in where we were doing these events. Just drop me off, right? So, I got to figure out, it's like putting a puzzle together. I got to figure out the whole thing. I got to figure out where am I getting my food? Where am I parking my vehicles? Where am I sleeping? Where am I going to get power from? Where's the water coming from? Where's the sewer coming from? I have 0 staff. I start running ads. I start interviewing people. I mean, it's this whole thing. Within 7 days, I have a complete business.
Wow.
Right? And that's from nothing. And I've done it many times. So that skill has allowed me to, go into pretty much any kind of business and have any sense, because you're dealing with all the same stuff, right? You're dealing with people, you're dealing with money, you're dealing with products, You have to come up with something somebody wants to purchase, right? And that could be anything, right? It doesn't even have to be physical. It could be data, for example. So yeah, so
Wow.
all of these things,
And so that's what
come
it's all
up. So
about.
that's what Restaurant Millionaire is about, and how do we, how do we send that value out to some other people?
And not only that, you also have the whole COVID, mess that, I mean, that took another spin of
Right.
how to have restaurants in this time frame or this era.
And that's honestly where the idea of Restaurant Millionaire came, because you got to think, we were doing, at one time we were doing 100 events a year. We were probably down to doing maybe 50, but I mean, we had a lot going on, and all of a sudden that shuts down, right? I mean, when I say shut down, I don't know if you know the story. Have you heard the story? Mm-hmm. We were at the Houston Rodeo, and the Houston Rodeo is the second largest event in the world. I mean, not in the United States. And we'd already been there for like 2 weeks. It's like a 4 or 5 week deal. And once spring break hits, it becomes, I mean, there's 150,000 people a day, right? So I have Big Bubba's Bad Barbecue there. I have 150 foot of frontage. I have 30 cash registers, right? 30. All staffed up, all hired. Took us a week and a half to build this thing. I've got 2 refrigerated containers filled with food, right? The event, they call us in the morning and they say, we're closing at 10 a.m.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. The entire thing. And we're like in shock, right? Because, I mean, we're geared up. You're talking hundreds of thousands of people there every day, mass production, right?
Wow.
I mean, we have I have 400 cases of turkey legs to sell in the next 2 days. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
my
just,
goodness.
it's that massive. And so when that shut down, it's an interesting process, right? Some people could, really go off the deep end, but thank God my character is 100% entrepreneur, right? So all I do is just shift. And so that whole process allowed me to think, right? So it took me 5 days. I had to pay everybody 5 days to tear it all down. We had to donate all the food to the food bank. I mean, it was a train wreck, right? But we can't just walk away. We had to walk away clean, right? Everything swept up, gone, trucks loaded, trucks had to come back. But it was like, you got to remember the first few days, it's like, are we even going to be in business ever again? Right? I mean, we didn't know. Nobody knew. And so driving home, I just started thinking, and I just went back to the restaurants. I had Big Bubba's, and thank God I had that, because that kept my head going, right? That gave me some time. We got down to me, my wife, and 2 other cooks, right? And that was it. That's all we were going to have.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, and so everything's going to be to go. And, we talked a little bit about Facebook, and Facebook was huge for us, because that gave us a way to communicate, here's what we're offering, here, we're open, whatever. And I think that was a game changer at that particular time.
Well, and you were also, I know you had the law enforcement, they had their, to go, come get, bags of chicken or, burgers. And
Well, and the other thing, I mean, if you think about it, so from Houston, we literally had a ton of food, right? That we had. Some of it we couldn't return. Some of it we have freezers, so we brought some of it back. All that can happen, but still, it was what are you going to do with all this bread? And what are you going to do with, 50 cases of bell peppers? You know what I'm saying? A lot of that went to the food bank, but if some of it was returned to the distributors that we could, but some of it couldn't. So
crazy times.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Times.
But in hindsight, if you're true, right? If you really know how to figure it out, you can just adjust. Well, that's where the idea came of the restaurant Millionaire was, well, let's just show them how we adjust, how really nothing can stop us as long as we're keeping our head about us, as long as we don't go crazy on our budget, right? Or as long as we don't get too far out, things like that. And so that's what we do. So once that happened, I said, okay, I was a little frustrated with the we'll call it the entertainment business, the concession business, because, when you just get it all pulled out from under you, you're like, well, shit, that's not good.
Right.
That I need to do a little bit better in diversification or something. So then I go, okay, well, I'm just going to start working. And it took me probably 4 months to where I started looking at things, right? So we started doing kettle corn out of Big Bubba's, and my sister was delivering it. And just what can we do? And really, the saving grace, and I've told many people this, was my mentality went back to when I was 18, and I said, how am I going to make $5? Right? And if you ask yourself, how am I going to make $5? You can't say, how am I going to make $100? I got to make 100. It's too big of a question, right? So I got to go to, how do I make $5? That's back when I was in high school, one churro cart. I didn't have no bills, no nothing, How do I make $5? And once I figure out how I can make $5, then I can make 10, then I can make 30, then I can, you know what I mean? Then I can. But first, I got to get my brain so far down there to go, how do I make $5? And so how do you go from, doing millions of dollars to switching your brain of how am I going to make $5, right? When we did the menu, the to-go menu at Big Bubba's during COVID, we just came up with this. I said, it's all about how are we going to get some cash today, right? Power's still on, right? They're still emptying the trash can. These things have to be paid. So how are we going to just generate cash today? I mean, cash money. How is somebody going to come and give me $10 for what? Right? So when you break it down that much,
make it simple.
Yeah, just to make it simple and wrap your head around it, and then you kind of mold it from there, right? So, or do you go into depression?
Yeah, right. you just close up and give up,
right? Right.
And you're not that. You don't have that personality.
No, I'm a warrior.
Which
dude.
will lead me to now our North County stuff. You have the 3 restaurants in the North County, right? So tell me about. So Bubba's was after Good Old Burgers, right? That was your next restaurant.
Let's see. It went from. So I went from Good Old Burgers, and then I created a mobile Big Bubba's, right? Those are the log cabins you see down at the fair. So I did that, and I think I did 2 of those. So it went from Good Old Burgers to two of the log cabins. We it was back again. I mean, this was back when we didn't have much. I'm talking about when and that's another thing. When I started with nothing, $20. Really, when I say that, I really mean it. When I'm eating two hot dogs or 2 hamburgers at AM PM for 99 cents. This is the way it all started. So we went from Good Old Burgers, right? Again, that was I think I was 26. I'd spent every single dollar I had on the place, which was all of about $20,000. So much that I didn't even have any money to put in the register when we opened. It's, but, you're 26. You think you know everything,
sure,
right? But all I really knew, to be honest with you, was I really want to sell a great burger. That was really all I knew, And so we just tried to do that. And whether anybody thought it was the best burger, we thought it was. So then I went from Good Old Burgers. I made the 2 mobile barbecues. We started doing that. And then they were going to, I don't know if you remember the original Good Old Burgers, right? It was a modular.
Right.
So the landlord comes to us. Remember, there was a Texaco right on the corner where Starbucks is now.
Right.
So he comes and he says, you know what? We're going to put something else where Texaco is, and it's going to wipe out your situation. And this was like, honestly, I think I was 26, and I was lost, right? I'm like, oh no, now what, right?
Right, you just put all your money into
right,
it.
I'm just getting this thing going. I mean, I'd been open for a year, but it took me 3 years to figure it out. And that's another thing. That's why Restaurant Millionaire is important, right? So if people need help, maybe we could help them, But so then I said, and then remember, Big Bubba's was a motorcycle shop. Remember, it was the liquor store.
Right.
Then it was the motorcycle shop. So they said, well, we have this building that could be available. I was like, oh my God, that's such a big building for the Good Old Burgers concept, right? Good Old Burgers are not that big. We sold like 4 items.
Right.
And so I said, okay, let me think about it. So anyways, I started designing this thing. And it was originally going to be called the Redneck Ranch, and nobody liked that idea. So I said, oh, I already have this Big Bubba's brand. So that's how it all came to Big Bubba's. And then I had an architect out of Cayucas. I think he lives in Cayucas. His name was Ken. He designed the fort with me. So it took us a year to design it, a year to get it through the city, and a year to build it. And again, if you think back where I was, I didn't have a lot of education, right? I'd never built anything. I didn't know nothing, and I couldn't get a general contractor to do this log thing in Paso Robles. And so basically I had to be the general contractor, not knowing anything. I hired a guy to come basically live with me from Canada and do this log work. And yeah, so me and him and 2 other guys did the whole thing.
So I mean, you had the bull in there. You had the buck and bull, which is that still
No.
still okay? That's not there, thanks to all their liabilities and everything. Probably.
Well, that's not really the reason, but go ahead.
But so then you also had the walkover path. The terrace up
Bridge.
there, to where you can't do that anymore.
Remember the servers used to dance?
Up on the bar.
No, could have been on the bar, but they all had.
Every hour.
No, it was every 15 minutes.
Okay.
And it was, I had a choreographer come in, and we taught them these little dances. There was 5 of them, 5 dances that we did. Because by the time you got around to all 5 of them, your party probably left, and then there's more people there. That was the whole deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was like iconic, because when it was made and it opened, it was like, wow, what the hell is this?
Right.
And then I remember the bar. You had the spout, the tap that was ice frozen, frozen over. Nobody's seen that before. Like I said, you had the buck and bull. You had the outside terrace that you can walk and hang out and watch, people drive by. And you had the jail. You can go in there and eat in the jail. Mm-hmm. So it was really like an amusement park restaurant.
Right.
And
so you can see, remember I was doing all the amusement stuff, right? So that's why you see all that.
Right.
It's the same thing with Good Old Burgers, watching you, remember you used to watch us do the onion rings?
Right, because you had the everything in the front.
Just like an event.
Wow. And so now, you got Big Bad Bubba's, and now you have Nate's Hot Chicken.
Hot Chicken.
And then the original, the Tortilla Town.
Right.
And so those are the only 3 in the North County, right?
County, yeah.
And both of those are all on the same property.
Same property owner, different,
Okay.
Like there's Margie's in between, the Black family owns the whole block there, but same landlord, but different piece of property.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the next step here in the North County for Roger Sharp and
I don't know. I've been spending a lot of time in Morro Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Paso. When I opened Big Bubba's, I think that was okay. Well, we opened up the year of 9/11. So when was 9/11? It's 21.
9/11. I mean 2011.
No. It's 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
2011.
2001. So that's when we opened, right? So you remember the building and all that stuff. Like there wasn't nearly the stuff that's here now, right?
Oh, not at all.
So it's evolved. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I've evolved too, right? So probably that will evolve eventually too. I don't know what that means.
The whole block of amusement park restaurants.
Yeah. So So we've kind of been, on anything with business. I mean, we just look for opportunities where they're at and whatever. Paso's got, it's got some interesting things going on. But again, things cost a lot of money, right?
Very cool.
And that's one thing about the restaurants that, I wish people would, these reviews, right? Like, they're just something. I think people really need to think about, these reviews and all this technology we have. And, I was asking my wife the other day, I said, with all this stuff, are we any better? I don't find us any better. I'm talking about, I find us more on edge, more frustrated. And it's kind of a sad situation, like I just was a part of a food group here locally, and I just had to get out, man. I just couldn't take the negativity, and it's not necessarily about me. It's just people being. So I said, do I really want that in my head every day? Yeah, I decided not to.
Well, the restaurant industry has been. You guys have taken a beating.
We take a beating every day.
Well, yeah. Because everybody's a cook. Everybody's a
critic.
Critic. Everybody. And as everybody wants their stuff yesterday, and it's not hot enough. Cold. It's just. But at the end of the day, it's like you're providing a service. Your waitresses and waiters are providing a service, and they're the ones that are on the front lines, sometimes.
Well, not only that,
difficult.
like maybe the restaurants need a little bit more respect, right? In other words, they're an astronomical amount of work. Like, I don't know of a job that requires this much time. Maybe physically there's other things, right? But it's almost 24/7. It's a huge investment, and think about the amount of things that can go wrong, right? We have 25 refrigerators. We have 250 doors, right? All the refrigerators have doors. All the cabinets have doors. The restaurant, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We're relying on a lot of people. Could be anywhere from 5 people to 30 people. They all have to do it right? So it's very challenging. And so when I talk about that, it's like, I understand we screwed up. I'll be the first to say, we're not perfect, or we screwed up, or something happened. We try to make it right. But man, just the negativity and the expectation is just off the chart these days.
Yeah. Well, like I said, but those good customer service reps and waitresses and bartenders that you have there, that changes everything. And if those other people can't get past that, then they have bigger problems.
Yeah, it's easy to say for you and me right here, right? But try replying to somebody like that.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure. I couldn't even imagine.
God, right? Sorry,
awesome.
We ruined your life.
Right? Well, awesome, Roger. Well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show today and talking about, you got a lot of stuff going on, not only here, all around, but, everybody loves Big Bad Bubba's, Nate's hot chicken, Nashville hot chicken. And Tortilla Town. Tortilla Town makes the biggest
almost
burritos I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, it's good. And, I grew up here, right? So I'm pretty connected with the North County and what's going on. I don't know if I'm connected, but I'm well aware, put it that way.
Right? You got things going on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Roger,
well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And look forward to the next restaurant that Roger Sharp builds.
Next time I make one, I'm going to come in here and announce it.
Absolutely. Right? We'll love it.
Perfect.
Well, there you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in today, hearing about all the restaurants Roger Sharp, North County has, and over on the coast, guys. But we can't do this without our sponsors. We'd like to thank Escalar Wines, Wine Travelers Hideaway, Rancho Sestero Meat Cutting, Visit Atascadero, 805 Customs, El Red Rooster, Kennedy Club Fitness, Amy and Jamie's Place, Airflow Filter Services, and Pacific 805 Spas, guys. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
3, 2, 1.